although I don't know whether anything is more debatable than the cover letter. We might get to that on another video. Hey lovely, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some of those basics that you need as a job seeker or as somebody in your early career. So this is probably especially applicable to teens and 20-somethings, although understandably it's quite universal as well. And I suppose for you to understand why this makes sense for you even as a teen, it's important to think about what the definition of career is, or what definition we can use. The one that I talk to students about all the time is the Career Development Institute definition, which ultimately talks about how we are on our career journey throughout our life. And it's about the process of learning skills and being on your journey through education and ultimately into the world. It's a great definition, which you can see here. And if you absorb that as your definition of careers, you'll understand why even as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, you're already on that journey. So what does being on that journey mean? Well, being on that journey means that you are actively going to take some steps to further your journey towards your working life, right? Towards a life in which you are earning and existing and hopefully thriving. And that journey, that 50+ year journey, can include employment, right? It can include entrepreneurship. It can be a combination of those two. But really, you are laying the foundations now. You're laying the foundations in your teens and 20s about what that can be for you. And so in this video, I wanted to talk you through some of the basics, some of the things that would really be beneficial for you to have now. And we're going to talk about it in both sort of really practical terms and then also in mindset terms, right? And I'm going to start with the practical terms, but if this has you feeling stressed or worried or anything like that, then you absolutely want to stick around for the mindset piece that we'll talk about just after this as well. To be able to apply for an internship, or even if you are interested in work experience as a teen and somebody actually wants to see some documentation related to your potential interests, I really see it as there are a couple of very basic documents for you to have as somebody on your early career journey. So those documents include a CV, a cover letter, and what I would say as well, although this one might be more debatable, although I don't know whether anything is more debatable than the cover letter. We might get to that on another video. But I would also say a LinkedIn profile, right? Now, again, this varies dependent on your age currently. If a LinkedIn profile isn't applicable for you at this stage, then at least have it on your radar as something that would be very useful to have, because it's great for actively building your connections, being able to highlight your abilities, and also building your personal brand. So again, these are all individual topics in their own right. However, I wanted you to know those in terms of why, as a career coach who's been doing this for a long time, who's been working with teens and 20-somethings for over a decade, why I would say that these are ultimately some of the fundamentals. You also need the ability to fill in an application form, but in terms of the things that you can have ready, it does include a CV, a cover letter, and at the right time, a LinkedIn profile. Even though these will all have their own videos in their own time here on this channel, let's talk through each of these items that I would say as somebody on your career journey, it is useful for you to have them prepped. The first one is a CV. The next is a cover letter, and then also LinkedIn, as we talked about. So what is a CV? A CV, also known in some parts of the world as a resume, is ultimately about your path of life. That's what curriculum vitae stands for in Latin. It is path of life, and it's a way of demonstrating your accomplishments on a piece of paper. And when you write your first one, you will realize that sometimes that's a little bit trickier than you think So a CV should be 1 or 2 pages long, ideally no more than that. And certainly for your first CV, you might manage to make it a 1 pager. And I will be doing a whole separate video on that, as I mentioned. And for now, though, here is some information about some of the potential areas that you would include in your CV. And more than anything, for the purposes of this video, it's just about you recognizing that, okay, Gina, I get it. This is one of the things that is worth me creating, even if I'm a 15-year-old who isn't quite yet ready for my first job, right? So CVs, important. If you don't have one, just have it in your mind, have it on your to-do list, that this is one of the things that would be really beneficial. A cover letter is also useful. That typically tends to go alongside a CV when you're applying for something, although the important thing about cover letters is that they change and they're bespoke and they are really, really relevant to the potential employer that you are speaking to. Cover letters are all kinds of controversial, which we will talk about in an actual video about cover letters. However, for now, again, just recognize it will be useful for you to have and for you to build. And good old LinkedIn, ultimately what is a social media platform but designed for professional use. So I typically say that as long as it is all good with parents and caregivers, that this is a really useful thing to be building from around the time that you are 16 in the UK system. That's around sort of year 12. Of course, if you're in university and you don't have one yet, it is absolutely fine. If you were seeing this video and hadn't realized the importance of it, though, that's kind of the point. That's sort of why I'm making it. That again, while I'll have an entirely separate video on LinkedIn and really dive deep on that, I would like to really encourage you to build a presence on there, right? Build a presence. So again, add that to your kind of basics, your fundamentals list when it comes to your early careers and your job seeking at this stage. All right, lovely. So in terms of the tools, that was the main bit that I wanted to talk to you about. I do want to recognize, of course, that in this era of generative AI and whatever else it's going to change into, recruitment processes, I think, really will be changing, because you can imagine employers can get a swarm of these things and they're not necessarily as personalized or whatever as they once were, even a couple of years ago. If people are using prompts and that sort of thing to create these sorts of tools. So I would say at the time of recording this video, I kind of veer on the side of actually doing it manually and doing yourself is sort of a better thing. Although we will explore in a further video how maybe these tools can be used as an assistant as opposed to as the creator of these sorts of documents, right? So we will talk about that in a future video. And really the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about today when it comes to basics and fundamentals is attitude, right? Is attitude and mindset. And this is where I want to encourage you that even in the most competitive of marketplaces, even when there may be, depending on your stage, kind of rejection after rejection after rejection, right? The statistics around the sort of early careers landscape right now are tricky, right? As they are actually for multiple stages. So I really wanted to encourage you to see everything that you're doing right now through the lenses of curiosity and experience, right? When you look at things in that way, you can lean into things with a little bit more enthusiasm and a little bit less pressure. So that might include, just making sure that you're doing positive things, going along to careers talks, doing all sorts of things, doing these sorts of online work experience tasters, sorting out some volunteering, all of these things that will actually be very CV worthy. But I suppose if you're looking at things through a really pressured lens, then sometimes it's going to feel a bit, what's the point, right? However, if you can be looking at things through the lens of curiosity and exploration, you're going to positively take steps for yourself, right? And then all of those sorts of things that we're going to talk about in future videos, like creating passion projects and entrepreneurship and all sorts of other things, you'll be more likely to lean into a little bit instead of through what shall we call it? A more skeptical, got there, a more skeptical lens, right? We kind of want to park that where possible and really move forward as positively as you can in terms of what you can control. And there is so much that you can control. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I am hopeful that if you found this useful, you will click the subscribe button somewhere, and also make sure that you are back for videos where we go into this in a bit more detail, because as you can see from the things that we talked about in general, there are at least kind of 5 videos ahead which will relate to each of those things and breaking it down some. But yeah, you know where to come for your dose of positivity in all things career development. Like, subscribe, and I will see you on another video soon. Bye. Enjoyed this video? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you come back for another video soon.